Well, hello and welcome to the Mariposa podcast, episode 1. If you guys have followed our channels for any amount of time, I've been saying I'm going to start this podcast for like 6 months. And here we are at episode 1. It's finally happening. It's all coming together. So I'm so excited and slightly nervous today, actually, because I'm sitting here with my friend Kenzie, who is going to be helping to moderate episode 1. And she has a series of questions set up for today that I have no idea what is on the other side of this podcast or this conversation. But at the end of the day, we are here to talk about faith, business, life, and everything in between. So I figured this would be a good way to start. I am not prepped on what we're going to talk about today. So let's watch it all go down. Kenzie, first of all, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Are you nervous for today?
A little bit, but I'm pushing through.
Yeah, and your hair looks wonderful.
Stop.
It does.
No,
I'm
I needed to
serious.
thank you.
I'm serious. I'm on like day 3. I started trying this new, you will need to know what this is in about 12 years. It's this spray that covers up your little gray hairs.
Oh.
Yes, it's this new thing I'm trying out. So anyways.
Have you seen, it's like a product you can use, and if you have like some sparse areas, like, along your hairline,
Yeah.
bald,
No,
you can fill
no.
it in.
You are not bald. Not even close. Trust me. I've had 3.
Well, that's a cool thing.
3 children. I know what it is to have a forehead the size of the state of New Mexico. Anyways, okay. Awesome. Well, should we just jump into today's questions?
Sure.
Let's
yeah.
do it.
Okay, so just to get you warm,
Okay.
we won't start in the deep end. Would you just tell me about yourself, but don't talk about work? Like,
Okay.
who are you outside of all of this?
Okay. Wow, that's such a hard question. But okay, I'm going to try to keep this brief and interesting. So my name is Laurene. I am a mom. I usually go to that identity first because it's just like where my mind is most of the time. I'm a mom of 5 kiddos. I don't know if anybody actually knows this. I've talked about this on some areas of content, but we actually are a blended family of 5. So we have 2 older girls, 11 years old and 10 years old, who are with us not all the time, part-time. And then we have Miguel and I have 3 kiddos together. So overall, blended family, mom of 5. And I really love my family. I'm really anchored at home and being a wife and a mom. As far as the work stuff goes, when I'm not working, that's where I am. And I try to be present with my family and with my kids. I personally grew up in a big family. So this is just kind of like a replay of my life growing up. I was actually just thinking about this the other day. Like, I remember mostly my mom folding laundry majority of my childhood, and now I understand exactly why. Like,
It never ends.
It never ends. It's like literally.
I don't have kids, and I'm like, oh my God, all this laundry
the
all the time.
laundry and like the little socks. I'm just like, okay, literally, what do you do with all these tiny pieces of clothing? And I'm like, Mom, I get it. Thank you very much. I get it. So I think, yeah, as far as that goes, that's mostly my identity in this season of life, mid-30s. I think another big part of my life is I'm a follower of Jesus, and my husband and I are very involved at church. We love our church. We go to Sagebrush Community Church in Albuquerque. And yeah, I volunteer on the weekends there. We love it there. We have a good community of friends there. And truthfully, a lot of anything that we do is anchored in faith for me. And so that is another big part of my life. Outside of that, I don't have much of a social life, but like, shout out to all my friends who have been there the last 10 years, who know that like, it's just so crazy and we get together when we can. But as far as a social life right now, I really don't have one because I'm just so inundated with everything with the family and with the job. So, I wish that was like spicier for you, Kenzie. Like, I wish I had some more.
No, I mean, I have follow-up questions.
Zhush, But anyways, yeah, that's, I guess, the basis of who I am and where I am in this season of life.
So who were you before you were a mom?
That's such a good question. I don't know. Truthfully, before I had kids, I don't know. Like, I feel like I forgot. But I feel like that's also part of just like the design of having children. Like, in some ways, your brain forgets what it's like to not have children so that you don't find yourself longing for that. Like it is like a new identity. I can tell you some things I used to like to do that I don't have time to do.
Sure, please,
I
please.
love running. I love
Really?
running. Yes, yes, I love running. I don't have time to do it anymore. So when I can, I fit it in. I do short runs here and there. One thing I used to love to do, I marathon trained for a while. So long runs, like with a lot of time to think about everything under the sun. Like
So
I
you were
love
like an
that.
athlete.
I wouldn't say that.
I would.
I
You're
wasn't
running
like,
marathons.
but I wasn't like competing against anybody. It was just, I just love to run.
I think if you're competing against yourself, that makes you an athlete
yeah.
too.
Yeah. Cause part of it was like, I just want to see if I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm really compelled by that. Like, I just want to see if I can do it. It's fun for me to just see if it's possible, So in some ways it is like picking something random like that and just like sticking with it. Cause I'm like, what are my limits and how can I surpass those? Something else I used to love or that I love being alone. Like this is so,
God.
I know, like Miguel and I laugh about this because I'm in no way an introvert, but I love when I get time alone, like and my brain can just actually think like deeper than, okay, what's for dinner? What is on tomorrow's calendar? Did I wash my hair today? Like when I can actually think deeply, I love thinking deeply, but I can't do that unless I carve the time out. So I realize now, maybe I didn't always like it and appreciate it, but like I love being alone. I love being alone. Yeah.
You gotta have alone time.
Yeah, I love it.
Awesome. Well, now you can talk about work. You're allowed to. So how did you start your career in social media management and what led you to start your own marketing agency?
Yes. This is so funny because when I decided I was going to go into this, I had turned my Facebook page off for 2 years. So I re-entered this space of, I literally hadn't been on social for like 2 years. I like ghosted and then I came back.
Wow.
But all the while I was working selling advertising. So I was selling TV and radio and I learned all about the marketing and advertising world. Well, this was a large corporate company who was trying to get ahead of the curve. They started implementing all of this digital training that piqued my interest. And I was like, okay, I see that this is the way the world is going. And so through the course of all that, I was able to find like a little way into the social media world. I got back online. I started to see the opportunity for it for small businesses locally. The other part of that that's really important, my territory in sales was like the South Valley, Albuquerque. So I was there with all of the Spanish-speaking businesses. I was the only one on the team who could speak Spanish. So I was like, Laurene, this is what you get. So then I would go and I would just like learn these businesses' stories and I would just like get a heart for them. And I would see that there was other opportunities than spending $2,000 on a radio schedule. I was like, you could take that, you could do so much with that. And so over time, I just started to see like there's more opportunity for these guys. Nobody's filling this void for the small business community. So I'm going to go out and do it. So once I had this idea, I remember I was driving to Costco one day and I called Miguel and I was like, hey, I have this idea. So if I can sell 10 accounts at $250 each, that's $2,500 a month. If I can do 15, and I was like just doing the math on the phone with him. He's like, where are you? I'm like, the parking lot at Costco. Do we need to talk about this now? No, we don't. But it was like that idea, like it comes to you right away. And then I needed to talk about it to somebody. And then I remember after that, like it was like something I threw around in jest. Because it was a really good paying job. Like I was killing it over there. I loved it there. I had a great community of work friends. I knew my clients, so I would just throw it around and I would throw it around until one day, it was actually sticking and I could see oh, he's actually kind of entertaining this. Then it turned into, okay, yeah, we're going to do this. And then it turned into, okay, what's the date? Then it turned into, okay, we need to pray about this date and we need to make sure we're ready for it. Then it turned into, okay, we need to save this year's tax return as a little bit of cash that we can use when we make the jump. Then it turned into, okay, we're putting in our 2 weeks. And then it just kind of all went from there. So it was like a longer process than it was just like one day I woke up ready to do it. Because I really enjoyed my job and I really loved what I did. I just knew that there was no way to sustain what I was doing and still be the woman at home that I wanted to be for my family. So that was kind of like where the rubber met the road.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm going to start joking about the things that I want to happen to me.
Just throw it around.
So that it
Just throw it around. Well, I don't know.
just put it in the universe.
If you don't know anything about my husband, like, he is not the guy, like, you hit him with, like, a big, expensive idea or, like, a big, risky idea. Like, now he is. Okay, I will say this, and I want to give him so much credit. Now he will entertain my wild ideas quickly. Back then, like, especially because we hadn't been married very long, and now we're used to the chaos with so many kids, but, like, back then, no, there was, like, a level of caution, wise caution that he would bring where I'd say something, he'd be like, okay, but let's talk through that. Or, like, no, we're not ready for that. So that's why I was like, hey, let me just keep throwing it out there. Yeah. And that's all I had to do. And then eventually he, like, saw, okay, no, she's actually serious about this. And then here we are 5 years later.
Wow. And how long have you and Miguel been married now?
So we've been married 9 years in November of this year. Yeah. Yeah, 9 years. I know, almost a decade.
And how old is your youngest?
She's 18 months. That girl is a firecracker. Yeah.
Is that Tess?
That's Taya.
Taya. Okay. I don't think I've met her yet.
Yeah, she is. She's definitely the baby. So now we can, like, settle into the family. Like, no, this is the squad right here. There will be no more added to this squad. This is the squad.
That's funny. No, my mom, like, when I turned, I think, like, 17, because I'm the younger sibling.
Okay.
When I was 17, my sister was probably, like, 25 or something. I don't know the math. But at that point, she was like, I should start reconnecting with my friends. So
yeah.
It's on the horizon.
So if you were 17, then I only have.
I know. That's probably not actually very hopeful.
Yeah, no. And I hope to eventually get to the point, where I can do that. It's just like when they're little, they need so much. Mm-hmm. And like
you don't want to miss a minute of it either.
Yeah. I don't. But I do miss my friends. Like, and I do miss having that element of friendship in my life. So that is something I actually have on my goal list for this year, to, like, just reignite friendship and make other people important. Because also the other last thing I want to do is just get, like, stuck in this, like, echo chamber of my own family, like, us four, no more. Like, is everyone good here? Okay, cool, then we can breathe. It's like, no, because so much of what we want to do and the impact we want to have requires us to step out and look out at other people who are in need, or who people we just love and want to be around. Mm-hmm. But if we don't make that time, and, like, it has to be literally calendared and intentional, then it turns into just, like, okay, the management of the home, the business, and then we're not even doing what we say we want to do, So it's a fine line. But thank you for that. I'm so hopeful. I will be back in friend mode one day.
So about 10 more years.
It's okay. I am patient, Kenzie. I am patient.
Well, you kind of spoke about goals a little bit, so I just wanted to ask you, what's your biggest goal this quarter?
This quarter. Okay, so this is kind of touching on something I mentioned, and I think we were doing some content creation. But here's my biggest goal for this year. This sounds wild, but this is what I want to do. So my dad, who is, like, he's the entrepreneur in my life, who has, in some ways, like, in a genetic, hereditary way, guided me to being my own, being a business owner. But in a lot of ways, like, I just love my dad. And I've watched him just, like, sacrifice and give blood, sweat, and tears to own his own painting business. So he's a painting contractor, and he has been, I think his business is, like, 35 years old, which I'm right around my age. How, interesting how that works, right? You have kids and then you start a business. But I just see, like, now that I have kids of my own, I just see, like, the sacrifice that goes into it. And they put us through private school. They put us through college. Like, my parents struggled to be able to do that. And so I'm just so indebted, and I'm so grateful, because so much of, like, what I have today, I owe it to them. So anyways, this year, I feel like God just put it on my heart. Like, no, you're going to bring your dad home, and we're going to find him some job here. He might be our building maintenance guy. The guy knows how to build and use tools, and so I don't know what it is yet, but my goal is that we get to the point where our internal team that we have right now is well watered and covered, and we meet all those internal goals. And then by October, I hope to have something right through one of these contracts that we're pursuing, that I would have the means to be able to employ him and give him purpose and a job, and change his everyday pace from working alone, painting houses to coming in, wearing some Converse. I don't know. We'll see if I don't think he'll go that far. But anyways, yeah, that's my biggest goal for this. But everything I'm doing right now in this quarter, it's lining up the steps to be able to make that happen because I don't know why October. I don't know why I said that. I think that's when I had I went to work with him one day because he was behind on a bunch of his jobs. And so I went to work with him and we were spraying a house in Santa Fe. And so I was there chipping paint off with this little chipper, and something just hit me right there. But it was in October, so that's why in my mind, as I was chipping paint off, I was like, okay, 1 year, you have 1 year, can you do this? And then that's when the idea started. So that's why October, which at this point we're February. So I'm like, okay, girl, get on it because it's gonna get here before we know it. But yeah, everything I'm doing right now is to order the steps to make that happen.
Awesome. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Now, this is a loaded question, and you can answer it. You can take whichever path you want.
Okay.
But what's your biggest goal ever? What's your shooting star big goal? It doesn't have to be business related, but it can be anything.
Okay. So, do you go to Santa Fe?
Mm-hmm.
When you're driving, and you're about halfway, and you see this really abandoned, dirty, old building. It's not even a building. It's a straight up shopping mall. You've seen it?
I think
you've seen it. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a lifelong goal to purchase that building and renovate it to the likes of, have you heard of Magnolia? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, Magnolia-ish, how they did with the silos, right? To create this massive economic hub tourist destination that highlights the best parts of New Mexico. It includes an aspect of business in there, possibly an aspect of education in there. But it is it's kind of symbolic for me, having grown up in Santa Fe. I live here now, half my heart's there, half my heart's here. And I've had this idea or this vision, it's 5 years now. June 3rd of 2017. Was that almost 6 years? Almost 6 years. June 3rd. That's the day that I got it. So I can't shake it.
Were you just driving past it and you were like, wait?
No, I don't remember. I was reading a book. Okay, well, let me throw this out there. This is going to sound like an unhealthy obsession, but it's not. It's a healthy obsession. So Chip and Joanna Gaines, right? They have their whole Chip and Jo. Anyways, so I was on that bandwagon all the way. And honestly, to this day, their story truly inspires me. And a lot of what they've done in Waco, I see the bones of that happening here. I don't know if you know about Waco, the whole just reputation of it. It's that it was a terrible place, that there's terrible things happen there. People, it was why would you ever want to go there? Kind of thing. And so in some ways I feel that mirrors New Mexico in a lot of ways, and a lot of people are fleeing. A lot of people do not want to grow up here. They don't want to raise their families here. Yeah. And it's kind of in a lot of ways turning into this place of hopelessness and despair. So I think I was reading that book and I was hearing about the story of how they all started. And I've read that book probably 3 or 4 times just because I'm so inspired by it. I love it. And I'm not even a book reader, but that's the one book I will read. And something through that, I don't remember exactly how it all happened, but a literal download, it is here. If I could get an architect to draw this thing out for me or something. I have a couple of boards with photos on it, but it doesn't do it justice. But there's an actual.
You know exactly what you want.
Yes.
That is cool.
And I've prayed a lot about it too, because I'm okay, is this just something I'm making up, and that I have I guess ill motives about it. I want to have it to be famous or things like that. And I've had to sort through all that to be no, I need to make sure if I do it, it's for the right reasons. And it is, in a lot of ways, it is social, it is economic, it is for my love of New Mexico and wanting to use my brain and my ideas to bring new things here. But I've had to comb through a lot of that. And honestly, now I've understood this is a long-term goal. That building right now, it's listed for $18.3 million. As is. Okay, so let's not even talk about the renovations that need to happen there. It is not, I heard it's mice infested. But in a lot of ways, I've been asked, because I've shared this dream a few times now, people who know the owner of this building, a very well-known local man. They're like, do you want me to connect you to him? Do you want me to I can make this conversation happen? And I'm always like, I'm not ready yet. Because so much of what I'm having to do now, I'm having to sow the seed of doing it in a small version so I can earn the opportunity to do it in a big version. Like, we just had an 8-week renovation here, and I nearly lost my mind. And so it's like, okay, I'm okay waiting because this is a long-term goal, and I need all the skills I'm learning. I need this so I can do it in the way to eventually make that happen one day.
In a larger scale.
So I don't know the years time frame. Like, I don't know. But I just know, like, I know. Like, there's no erasing this thing that's in my head. Yeah, it's just there forever. And so that includes my family and my work. It includes anybody who wants to come on this crazy ride. It includes anybody who is needing or wanting to feel a sense of hopefulness, a reason to stay, a reason to stick around, a reason to plant roots here and make it better rather than leaving because we say it's not going to get better. So it kind of encompasses my whole identity, I guess you could say. That was so long-winded. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. The podcasts are for long-winded stuff.
I know. I'm just, when I talk, it's like a big plate of spaghetti. So
no, you're excited. Like,
I'm so passionate about that project. Thank you.
And you should be. And
Thank you.
It's a really cool idea. I think you're going to be passionate about this too. So I think probably the vast majority of business owners here and, at large are not Christians.
Yeah.
And if they are, it's like not a huge part of their lives.
Yeah.
But it's a really, really big part of yours. So how would you say it dictates your decision making in your day-to-day and in your business?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Thank you, because I always feel like I want the opportunity to bring clarity to that part of myself in a way that really allows me to share my passion for people and my heart for the community. Because I know, let's put it all out there. Like, sometimes there can be a stigma around Christians in general, and if there is anybody listening here that does carry that stigma, I can only say on behalf of somebody who really loves Jesus and I love God and I just want my life to reflect His will for me. I'm sorry if there is someone listening that is turned off by the fact that I'm Christian and I'm a business owner and that's layered into my life, because I want to be a good positive reflection of that. But as far as my day-to-day business owning, it affects everything. Like, I think for me, and I'll just share candidly, like, I'm in a season of overwhelm as far as there's so many unknowns. I don't know how it's going to get done. Mm-hmm. And so I'm constantly in this, I guess you could say this like teeter-totter of like, okay, do I operate on sight or do I operate on faith? Do I operate on sight? Do I operate on faith? And it's like, when I'm operating on sight, it's like, there's literally so much to do. I do not know how it's physically going to get done. If I look at the big picture, I'm so stressed out, I want to shut down and take a nap. But then I'm having to activate that faith aspect to turn and say, no, like, doesn't rest on you. The work that you have, it is work that you've been called to. You are able to do this. You've been called for a purpose. Who cares how you feel? Get to work, so there's this little side of it where it is about, it's like this constant back and forth. And what I find is when I am looking at everything by sight, like, I promise you, I would have quit a long time ago. Mm-hmm. I would have thrown the towel in. I would have been like, forget this. Like, let me go to a 9-to-5 where the salary is predictable and I get great benefits and everything is, covered and there's no risk involved. I would have done that a long time ago. But because I do believe that there's like pieces of this, I'm not going to know the answer. And I'm okay with that. And I lean into that. That's where it dictates a lot of those things. Also, because like in the 5 years, I can look back and I can say, like, I didn't know how that was going to happen. Mm-hmm. But I can see now. I can see now that because I was faithful in what I had sitting in my hands today.
You hung in there.
I hung in there. Now I can see the fruit of what that looks like. But if I operated just on like the very logic of it all, like, I would not be here. I would be working a very safe, high-paying sales job. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't be here doing these things that honestly, like, ignite my soul. And there's so much passion in it. I wouldn't be pursuing buying an $18.3 million with, like, barely anything in the bank, I wouldn't have the gumption to like think about that. But because I know it doesn't rest on me, like there's no pressure for me.
Yeah.
I just got to show up and record a podcast today. Like, so I think it's all perspective for me. And I think as far as like the ethics and the principles of how we treat people in the organization, whether it's employees or whether it's people we partner with, like it gives me this grounding of like, I know how I want to do it. And I want to be above reproach in a lot of ways. I want to set an example and I want to bear the fruits of it, which means hopefully happy, thriving employees. Mm-hmm. Hopefully it means clients that are satisfied with the services we offer. Hopefully it means in some ways we inspire people to want to chase their dreams and take big risks, and so through all that I can just say playing it safe. I can see how I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do any of that. So I think that's why my faith is so big for me.
Nice. That makes me ask a question that's not on the script, but it's a follow-up question. Yeah. When I was engaging with some of Lindsay Maestas's content, she talked a little bit about how like some Christians it feels weird for them to be earning money and to be high-earning individuals. Has that affected you and your mindset? Did you struggle with that at any point? And what do you make of it?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think some of it too is like social and cultural, being from New Mexico, where majority of the way of looking at money is with a scarcity mindset. Mm-hmm. But here's how I've been able to kind of wrap my head around all of this. So as a Christian, I believe that nothing that I have belongs to me. Everything I have been given a responsibility to steward it. And so for that reason, I handle everything with an extra layer of care and responsibility. Nothing is flippantly done. Nothing is just like, we want it, we get it. It's like everything is done intentionally with thought because I don't consider it mine. Like we get a contract here. It's not my money to then take and go write myself a check and go on a vacation or anything. Like I really I have to think of all the factors to consider. What would a good steward do? What would a good steward do to take what we have and go multiply it? So there's a parable in the Bible that talks about that, where it's like, there were 3 stewards and one was given, 1 talent, one was given 5, one was given 10. The one with the 1 goes and says, I'm going to bury this actually because I'm afraid to do anything with it because I don't want to touch it. Mm-hmm. And it's just the safest thing to do. The one with 5 went and multiplied their talents. The one with 10 went and super multiplied. And so it is that idea of like stewardship of what does it look like to have that. So as far as money goes, for me, it's a tool to be used generously. It's a tool to be used to advance the things that we're doing. And I think because I have that emotional separation from it, like I am okay with it. I'm okay with money coming in, money coming out. Like, I guess for me, the security of our business doesn't rest on how much money is in the bank, like things like that. I don't do it for the money. Like I do not do it for the money at all. This is my first time probably sharing this ever. But while we're here, let's go big or go home. Like on the payroll, I'm $15 an hour because we have trimmed down our finances so much to say, what do we only need? So I can keep every penny back into the company so that we can keep advancing the mission. Because I don't care about the money. Like I have everything that I need and more. Like I've been so blessed in abundance. And so I think that's just a mindset over time. Because don't get me wrong, I have like a bougie taste in a lot of ways. Miguel really reminds me of that.
I have a follow-up question about that actually.
But I've had to like relearn my relationship with money from a faith-based perspective. And at the end of the day, it's not mine. I'm just the manager of it. Mm-hmm. And when I can be trusted with a little bit, I can be trusted with much. So I'm always trying to earn that responsibility and to show that I can do it. I can do it with $1. I can do it with hopefully at one point, $100 million, but it's all the goal never changes, and it's always just used as a tool to advance the mission.
Cool. Well, speaking of bougie taste, this is kind of a weird question, but I think it's a good one.
That's okay. That's okay.
I'm actually wanting to ask you this, but you're a business owner, an entrepreneur. You're an online course instructor. You're a mother of 5. And a wife, and you are constantly answering questions and making sure everybody's needs are met, but you always have a gorgeous manicure.
Thank you. Okay, this is the one little guilty pleasure.
I knew it.
This is the one little guilty pleasure that I do have.
I knew it and I love it.
But here's what we actually do. Okay, this is where my ghetto is showing, okay? I'm going to tell you this. So once again, my husband is not the one who's just like, hey, real quick, want to go get a $50 manicure, okay? Also, I should preface this with, for a long time, we were eBay sellers, especially in the beginning of the business, because we had his full-time salary job. Then we had the money I was making at Mariposa, and then we learned how to sell on eBay just to like get extra money. It paid for our roof one time when we had massive roof leaks. Anyway, so we have a really good skill set of taking something and selling it. Mm-hmm. In fact, he has an entire garage of inventory of stuff that's ready to sell at any point.
I didn't know this.
Okay. So sometimes, especially when I'm like, ooh, so the set of nails I had before this, it was like right around Christmas. And I was like, and honestly, for me, my heart was like, okay, it's not about me. Like, we need to focus on Christmas, the holidays, all of that. But I wanted to get my nails done. So I literally told him, I'm like, what you got in the garage? Can I go sell something? Because, like, I never want to be above that, or I'm not willing to go flip something on Facebook Marketplace for some spending money, you know? Mm-hmm. So he's like, okay, so I have these vintage records. Yeah, go list them or whatever. So there I was, like, you know, it was like the Beatles, like Pink Floyd. I don't know. There was like 30 records or whatever, but that's what I did. I went and I laid the records out and I took the pictures and I posted them on Facebook Marketplace. And this is actually, we were just laughing about this. They haven't sold yet. But I went and got the manicure anyway. So I still need to sell those because, like, we keep tabs of it too. But, like, it's also a fun way that when we want something that's just for us, like, and I think it also just, like, encourages the spirit of, like, earning. Yeah. We have to take something and go and we flip it. And then from there, we have some money to do the things that we might want to do or things that we're not always like, we're not going to be like, oh, yeah, just go spend right away. So it also creates this fun little, like, camaraderie between him and I of, like, okay, like, what do you have to sell? And sometimes it's, you know, vintage records. And sometimes it's, like, I don't even know, like, little trinket perfume bottles. I don't know. Like, you need to see our garage. That could be a whole other episode one day for the potential eBay seller. But, yeah, this is my one, like, little guilty pleasure of.
You need something like that.
Yeah, this is my one.
You need it. Because, and especially as someone who likes to be alone, even if it's, you know, across from someone who's doing your nails for an hour, you get to zone out, watch whatever they have on the TV, you know.
Yeah, and the lady, she's my friend. She's wonderful. So it is like I get to go and
good.
Like, you know, at this point, meaningless conversation with someone while we sit there and she does my nails. So it is my one little guilty pleasure.
I think you deserve it.
Thank you, Kenzie.
Okay, let's see. Okay, we were just talking all about Miguel. What's it like running a business alongside your partner? And have you run into any weirdness with that at any point?
Oh, yes, and absolutely yes. Every day is weird.
Every day is weird.
Yes, I'm serious. Well, I feel like I'm waiting for someone to, like, publish a book, like, oh, how to run a business with your spouse or something. It's just like I need somebody's wisdom to glean from because it's weird. And don't get me wrong, I will never change my situation. I don't care if you offered me $1 million. I will never change it. But the idea that we are constantly having to go from, like, productivity mode to, like, being, you know, partners in life and married and in love, and then we have to, like, go back to task-oriented conversation. We're really, in this season right away, like right now, we're really struggling with that. Like, we're struggling to figure out, okay, when are we married and when do we work together? Because merging the two is weird, but, like, keeping it so segmented and separate, it's, like, almost feeling cold. So we've been doing a lot of, like, heart searching and digging and talking about that because we're both recognizing it. Like, we know when there's distance. We know when we're thriving. We know when, like, we know each other's thermometers there. But it is weird because I don't know. There's no, like, this is black and this is white. It's a bunch of gray. Because there we are eating dinner. It's like, did you get the thing? Okay. Oh, yeah, I got that. Okay, yeah. You know, and it's, but wait, we're with the family. But, you know, it's odd. Or we have the kids here. So it's like, oh, well, this isn't work. Like, the kids are running around like crazy people. So, yeah, in full honesty, it's very difficult. And we're learning it. And we're committed to learning it. And so when
I think that's the key difference between you and maybe a couple who has a weaker foundation is a willingness to keep trying.
Yeah, I think that's it. Like, we're not going to give up. We know why we're here. We know what we're doing. But if I sat across from you, it's so easy just working with your best friend every day. Like, don't get me wrong, it has very rewarding moments. But a lot of it is, like, you have to put words together in your head before they come out of your mouth. You have to, because that honor and that respect has to be there. And we're working through that. We're actively working through that. Like, as of 2 hours ago on the drive over here, we're working through that.
Earlier today, Laurene was like, Miguel, and explained for probably only 30 seconds. And Miguel's like, don't hate me. I need you to repeat half of that.
and then did you watch me okay, well, just let me know when you are done.
You're ready. You guys are both very patient and kind to each other, though. I know, and you can tell in those moments where it could be tense and it could be weird, but it's not. You guys diffuse it right away.
We try. It's taking practice and it doesn't come easy, but yeah. Thank you guys for your patience. I think about
it's kind of cute, honestly.
The Monday morning meetings, and then especially the way that we sit. One of us on one side of the table, the other's just just imagine, we're going back and forth. It's just looking, what is she going to say? What is he going to say? But thank you guys for your patience and watching us walk through that awkward moment, because it's not and then personality wise, we're so different. I'm just okay, let's make the decision. Mm-hmm. He needs the details. He needs the context. And, I'm so grateful that I have somebody like that because I'm impulsive. And that's not always the best way to do it. So I need that person to stop me and ask that follow-up question and poke the holes in it. But when you guys have to watch us do it, you're probably crawling out of your skin. No. So thank you for your patience.
It's really not. Well, and it's, we've all been in the room with that couple that it just argues and not even bickering. Because I think bickering can be a love language if you do it the right way. But and we have felt awkward, oh God, now they're arguing again. But
can I walk out? Do I sit here? I never want to bring that.
No, it's not like that at all. Okay. It's not like that at all.
Thank you.
Speaking of family, what do your kids make of all this? Do they know that this is kind of atypical to have a mom and a dad who, one, work together, and two, have a marketing agency and have started their own business? Or are they just kind of yeah, that's mom and dad?
Honestly, I would love to get into their little brains and ask that question. So our oldest, Jade, so she's 11 and she goes to mid-school next year. She has a really strong love for digital design. She wants to learn Canva. So we've opened the door to that. In fact, I'm going to just take a quick little braggy mom moment. She won, there was a poster contest at school to encourage re-enrollment. And so she won the poster contest for the elementary school with a design she solely created on Canva by herself.
Jade!
No help. I know. She it was this big old celebration.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just she's following in her little footsteps.
No, she totally is. It's funny.
It's so precious. So you have her. So she's gets it, but she's figuring that what does that mean for her life? I think, hence this happy birthday, banner. We actually had her birthday party here, wild times at the office. So she's fully integrated and old enough to understand it. I'm not really sure what she makes of it. She's also a gal of few words. So very introverted, very quiet to herself in a lot of ways. So I'm not sure she would even have the, desire to fully express it. As far as the other kiddos, Bells is our second oldest, and she is only with us on summers, spring break, and Christmas break. She lives in Michigan.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So Bells, when she's here, she's fully integrated, and she doesn't make necessarily anything of it or think it's weird or she just kind of jumps in. As far as our three littles who we have together, they literally know nothing else. This is not weird to them at all. In fact, they walk in, they act like they own the place, truthfully. And so I don't know. I would love to like figure out what they think about all of this.
I would too. Because, well, I mean, I imagine it's a situation where like if I were born and my mom had a bakery, it'd be like, yeah, it's mom's bakery. That's how it's always been.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just wonder, like, if you are at the dinner table talking about work, are they like, oh yeah, that's just how it is.
What is it? Well, you know what? I had a sweet moment with my son a couple of days ago. Because like the other part of it too, I try not to shield them as far as like if I can integrate them in any way, I will. And if that means that they get to learn about the business or what we do, or they see us on calls, like there's no way to separate everything. I think we've talked about that before. So the other day, I was having an emotional moment. My son saw me, and I was not like, it was like a little bit of tears coming down. I was just frustrated. And then he came up, he's like, Mom, what's wrong? I was like, just a stressful day at work, honey. And he's like, okay, can I pray for you? And then he did, and he stopped and he just prayed for me, and he just, like in the purest way, just asked that I would feel better. And I actually felt better, but I'm like have them see us struggle is just as important for me than to have them see us triumph. Like I want them to be on the ride and to see the journey. And even to have them see us disagree is just as important as them to see us getting along. And I'm not saying unhealthy disagreement. Like I'm not saying, fighting. I'm like, no, to see us disagree and have to walk through those uncomfortable conversations.
It's so important.
They have to learn that.
To see that, yeah.
So I don't want to like create or curate this environment for them that just doesn't show them what the real world is like. Like if they're in it, they're in it. And so they've acclimated great. Like they jump in, like I said, like they own the place.
They're precious. They're precious.
Thank you.
That is so sweet.
That literally made my day. Yeah, it made my day. It's like, thank you, son. It's like, okay, cool, Mom, can I have a snack? Can I have some Doritos? Yes, you can. Thank you.
Oh, can I have a snack now?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's been the most challenging part of business ownership for you? Most difficult part of your whole journey?
That is interesting. I think for me, it's the wow, like normally I just have something lined up and I really don't. There's a few things I can think of, and maybe this is just a reflection of the season that we're in. I think the first one is having to be dynamic and working with different types of people. Sometimes when there's not, I don't know, just like mutual respect or like the same way that I would hope, or I'm not always handled the same way that I would hope to handle somebody. And then having that dissonance of like, wait, like this, it doesn't have to be like this, And so whether that goes from like us to a client, or maybe it's like us to a competitor, or us to maybe even an employee that's not with us anymore, like just that feeling of tension. If I'm like, it could be handled better, like more professionally, more peacefully, but I can't control always the actions of others. And so sometimes that frustration, like it weighs on me because at the end of the day, I have to work through, I am a people pleaser at heart. So I'm like working through that right now. I'm like, when can I be liked? When can I be respected?
Me too.
It's so hard. It's so hard. And sometimes the respectable decision doesn't always mean that there's like on the other end. And so I'm working through that dissonance of what does it feel like to be, in some ways I made the respectable decision, but there's somebody who is displeased on the other side of that. And then how do we be above reproach after that? Like that's a really hard thing for me.
That is very hard. Do you know what I thought you were going to say?
What?
I thought you were going to, because I think like last September, you were on maternity leave. Oh, yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So can you talk about what it was like being pregnant and running a business and having a new kid? And
wild times, Kenzie. Wild times. So during that time, while I was pregnant, like it was fine. I was like probably like, 2 fries short of a Happy Meal or whatever the little saying is. Like I've
never heard that saying. Wait, what is the saying?
It's just like I was operating on fumes.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Gotcha.
just like putting fragmented things, but making it work to get through it. We had prepared a plan for me to exit temporarily so I could go be mom, and then Miguel would kind of take over and some of that. So during that time, we had a ton of transition while I was away. And like, believe me, I had to fight so hard not to want to step in and come in and take over. So actually, this is another one of like the most challenging pieces is like letting it go and then trusting and delegating that it will be executed. And even if it's not executed in the way that I would have done it, to still be there ready to catch and support whatever is on the other side of that. So during that time, I had to just honestly like let it go. Whatever happened, I had a team in place. We had done the training. We had like figured it all out. But then there was hiccups while I was out.
Sure.
And he was trying to protect me from experiencing all of that because I was already emotional. I was already like a big old ball of tears. And then I'd have to like learn about things after they happened. And then like, why didn't you tell me about that? Like I could have come in and, but that was also the point where I wasn't supposed to do that. So that was a huge learning experience for us. And we grew a lot from it. Like it poked a lot of holes in what we needed to improve. It also taught us a lot of like, what does it look like? How do we be balanced as a team, Miguel and I? Because there are things I bring to the table that he cannot, and there are things he brings to the table that I cannot. So rather than trying to like both compete for the same, not compete, but like be both responsible for the same responsibilities, how do we own our own gifts and then we trust each other with the rest? But that we could only go through that as a result of like a very wild and in some ways like traumatic,
I'm sure,
situation. When the baby was like 4 or 5 months, we got COVID for an entire month, the entire house. And it was like a really bad.
That's scary.
Yeah, it was. So like, and then it was just us isolated. Mind you, so we had the 3 kiddos at home with us. I was still nursing. I also, like both of us couldn't eat.
You were nursing while pregnant?
No, nursing while, this was after the baby was like 4 months old.
Okay, oh my God, okay. I was like, wait, I'm like the timeline.
What is going on? No, so she was probably like 4 months old, but we got COVID, we came down with it. So literally he and I, neither of us could physically work with the kid. And then we were also taking care of the kids. Sometimes people ask, how'd you make it through that? I'm like, I literally don't know. I physically don't know how we did. But anyways, in that time, the middle of that, we lost an employee. So
when it rains, it pours.
Literally. So that was probably the darkest season that we've been through together. But on the other side of it, like always, hindsight's 2020. We learned so much from that experience. We now have procedures in place where other people could potentially pick up the work should something happen like that. So we like had to go through all of that really difficult pregnancy, baby time to know how not to. Yeah, that was a wild times, Kenzie.
Oh, I don't envy you.
Yeah,
I bet that
it was weird. It was
like
crazy.
Scary and weird. And it's like, how do you rest and recover when you're so worried about what's happening at work?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm still figuring all that out. Like,
your mind might be protecting you from it.
yeah. I think in a lot of ways. And I think when I worry, I'm like, I have 2 opportunities right now. I can worry and just feel like sick to my stomach about it, or I can pray. Like, that's it. I have 2 choices because it's on my mind anyway. I could like say all day, oh, I'm able to like, tune it out. In some ways, when I'm with the kids, we're actively doing something. But when I'm not at work, I'm thinking about those things and I'm either worrying or I'm praying about it because I can't do both at the same time.
Right.
So,
Great answer. How was your pregnancy? Just like completely separately, like nothing to do with anything. Because I've heard like horror stories, like some women are like, it's the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
And then like others, it's like, I didn't feel a thing.
Okay. Those women that are like, oh, I just love being pregnant. I just feel so much more like myself. I'm like, that is not me. Like, that is absolutely not me. I feel very foreign to myself.
Really?
Like, yes. And that was
I've heard that before.
The third baby. And then also a couple of things. I had actually a few health issues. I had sciatica because I have scoliosis. So the third pregnancy also, at that point I'm in my 30s. So, that was rough. Then I also had gestational diabetes. So like I could not eat carbs.
And
Like,
that's all you want
when you
you're
just
pregnant.
want that, like, yeah, a milkshake. Nope, that was off the table. And then I had a fall that sent me to the hospital. Yes, I had a terrible fall like 2 months before
God.
I delivered. I was walking in the backyard and I tripped over the lip of a piece of concrete and I fell and busted my knee and I had to go to the hospital. I was actually on the way to a meeting at Electric Playhouse.
Oh, wow.
We were going to go meet with a client and I wore boots that I shouldn't have worn anyways. Yep, I fell. And so like I could not have been more happy to not be pregnant after that because I just needed like a functioning body. But I look back on that time too. Sometimes I'm like, okay, oh, like I really appreciate a good functioning body after you go through a season of like not having that at all. And then of course the whole postpartum thing, that's a whole other drama. So like now to be on the other side, like she's 18 months now, like, you know, mom's getting her groove back a little bit. I'm just so grateful for a functioning body. And so that's it. There's always like blessing from the other side, even when
Absolutely.
it was really rough and I do not like being pregnant. And
Pregnancy is, it's brutal and beautiful and
yeah,
women, man.
yeah. I mean, it is beautiful in a lot of ways, but it's just not my favorite thing.
Prefer to not be sharing.
I love being a mom. I
Yeah.
love it. But like it's rough. It's so rough. And
Yeah.
it is beautiful. So I don't want to, you know, I don't want to freak anybody out. Yes.
Cool. Well, I think the last question I have for you to end it on a positive note.
Cool.
What's been the most rewarding aspect of business ownership for you?
Wow. Okay. I think for me, the most rewarding thing has been just watching the wild things happen. Like the stories that I have no explanation for, but that I know that there is a God that has our back, that is mobilizing and putting things in place. So last year, I'll share this with you guys. End of the year. Okay. So here's what happened. So we were getting to the point where cash flow was really low. And I had an SBA loan that I was waiting for because we were waiting for this large contract when we were working with Meta. Well, I don't know if you know about billing with large corporations. It takes a long time. Well, we still had payroll. And so it was the end of the year and we were waiting for this SBA loan to go through, but also a ton of paperwork. The money was not in the bank. Payroll was due in 48 hours. We were going to have money pulled from the bank that was not there. Mind you, this isn't just for me. This is for other employees. I do not take lightly that we support the livelihood of a lot of people and that I need to make sure that they have what they need to thrive as people as well. So anyways, we are getting to the very end of this window to get this money. So we go to see a client. Migs and I, both of us, we walk in. Normally it's just one of us, but we had both gone. It was kind of like their annual talk. And so we go in and we were like, okay, perfect. So, you know, want to make sure you want to continue this year. Client was like, yep, want to continue. Can I pay the year in full? With literally 48 hours. The amount, I'm not even kidding you, was like $200 off from the
All fell into
payroll.
place.
That I'm just like, okay, everybody gets paid. Guess what? The SBA loan gets processed 2 days after the payroll gets processed. So then the cash is in the bank, the contract comes in. But like those moments of just like, I am scared, I am nervous, but I know it's going to work out. Like, it's just stuff like that. That's just like, okay, this is a wild, crazy ride. And I'm just happy I'm not driving. Like, in a lot of ways, like I said, I show up faithful with the small things that are in front of me. But to have watched numerous things like that, just like, I couldn't create a coincidence. I could try to call it a coincidence, but when it happens like 12 times, you know, it's like, it's not a coincidence anymore. Ways that people heard about us from somebody. I was at something and someone heard something and, you know, just like all these weird connections, and just watching that play out is like the most gratifying thing because it's just like I laugh about it. I just have no other reaction but to laugh and jest and gratitude of just like, wow, I get to do this every day.
That is awesome.
Thank you.
Well,
we made it, Kenzie. We made it. Well, I just want to thank anyone who has made it this far. I think we were shooting for like 30 minutes. I don't know what time it is. I imagine we went over it, but I had a blast talking today, and I'm so grateful that you were thoughtful in putting all those questions together. And our hope for this podcast is that we can share this same experience with other people. I think that there's a lot of people that have a ton of wisdom and passion. We want to learn from them. And so I'm going to steal some of these questions, Kenzie, and this is now going to be the new format. So we invite you to continue listening. Thank you for making it through episode 1, and we look forward to seeing you guys soon.
And be sure to follow Mariposa Marketing and Mariposa University on Instagram, Facebook, all the places,
all
YouTube,
the places. TikTok.
It's like at Mariposa Marketing stuff and at Mariposa University everywhere.
Yes, and look at Kenzie just being that A-player social media manager. You get it, girl. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Until next time.